Well, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. You are listening to Unfiltered Radio Show with Pastor Jason Gaszak out here in St. Clair, Missouri. And I am so glad that you guys are joining me. And I just want to say something because today is the first day that I'm actually using my reading glasses. So those of you listening to the radio cannot see that, but I also post these on my YouTube page. And therefore, you may be seeing me for the first time, so I'm just kind of giving them a shake right now. Yes, I unfortunately am having to use reading glasses at this stage of life. It just makes doing what I'm doing so much easier, and I'm sure there are many of you out there that can understand that situation. Either way, I'm glad you're joining me. It is the week after Thanksgiving. We are in the holiday spirit. But I'm not going to be talking about anything about the holidays today. I'm going to be talking about something completely different. But before we get into that, let me please talk about my show sponsor, SiloRestaurant.com in Sullivan, Missouri. Listen, here's what I'm asking of you. I'm asking you to go and support your local business, number one. If you're in the area, you can hear my voice, and they're within 20 minutes driving, or 10 minutes at the very least. Go and support this business. Right now, what I would like for you to do, if you can't actually go there, or maybe you're in the area, I want you to do me a favor right now. I want you to go to Facebook. Go ahead, pull out your phone, go to Facebook. I want you to look up Silo Restaurant, S-I-L-O Restaurant, and you'll see it on there. It's got a little red logo with a silo out front. That's kind of I think the cover page. Go on there, like them on Facebook, and follow them today. That way, you can stay up on all the latest and greatest new menu items or additions that they add to their menu. I can tell you right now, they're getting ready to add a hot bar to the buffet. They have this huge salad bar is what they do, but they're getting ready to add a hot bar to it. And you got to check it out. I saw them post it the other day, and it's going to be pretty cool. The other thing is that these guys support the local community of Sullivan, Missouri. They are very involved also with the Sullivan School District. If you follow them on Facebook, you will see them posting lots of community pictures. And I'm just telling you, this is the kind of business that you want to support. It goes both directions. When a business is involved in the community, the best thing to do is support the business that's in the community. So go out to SiloRestaurant.com. Check them out and do me a favor. Just let your server, let the person, the host or the person checking you out, let them know that you heard about them on the radio. I don't care if they're a regular spot that you go to. If you are listening to this show and you go there, just, hey, I heard you on the radio. I think it's cool that you're supporting that type of radio show because we want to support them. All right? All right. Well, if you are new to listening to Unfiltered, let me just tell you, yes, I am a pastor out at Roots Church in St. Clair, Missouri, and this is a platform for me to actually talk about social, political, and biblical topics in an unfiltered way. There are going to be times that I'm going to share my opinion about something, and today is going to be one of those times along with information that I have found on my own through reading and research, but it is going to definitely be one of those days where I am going to be unfiltered in my opinion about a couple of topics that we are going to discuss today. And guess what? We all have opinions, and yes, we all deserve or have the right to our opinions, but it doesn't necessarily mean anybody's right or wrong. But I do always say you have the right to be wrong about your opinion, and of course I do too. But either way, I do want to say this. If you know someone who actually could benefit from advertising on this radio show, you know what? Why don't you just tell them about this program? I mean, listen, we're a conservative talk radio. However, I don't just talk about political things. I talk about social things, and I definitely talk about biblical things on this radio show. I try to keep it positive as much as I can. And so they can contact me at jasongazak@gmail.com. Jason Gaszak. That's JASONGASZAK@gmail.com. I'd love to add them to the list of show sponsors for my 2024 season. Okay, today we're going to talk about conspiracy theories. Oh boy. What are they? Why do they happen? We're going to talk about, like what causes a conspiracy theory? and why? That's kind of one thing that I think is important to answer those questions. We're also going to talk about the conspiracy theory right now that is, it's been a hot topic for quite some time. There's two of them, and I've never really talked about them on the show. We have, we've made fun of a couple people. I say make fun. We've joked. We've given people a hard time about these two things, and that is, number one, there are flat earthers out there. So we're going to talk about, is the earth flat? And also the newest one, or not really newest, but one of the bigger ones, is, have we really gone to the moon? Those are the two top conspiracy theories that are floating around right now. And of course, we may end up touching base on 9/11. That was a big conspiracy theory. What about Sandy Hook? That was another big conspiracy theory. And there are many, many others. Unfortunately, for me, I don't get caught up too much in these conspiracy theories. And there's a reason for that. I think it's interesting. I love looking at both sides of the story. I mean, I've talked about confirmation bias. And when you have confirmation bias, okay, you're reading information that will fit your already known narrative. And usually, confirmation bias does not allow you to go research information that goes against your narrative. I try not to allow confirmation bias to control my views or my thoughts about things in the world. Although we all have confirmation bias, I'm just telling you I work hard not to allow it to affect my decisions. I try to be open-minded. I try to be realistic about it. And so for me, when I loved watching the 9/11 conspiracy theory, I enjoy reading about the people that are all about flat earth. I enjoy reading about people who believe that we did not go to the moon. For one, it's entertaining to listen to what I believe is nonsense of not believing these things, but at the same time, they make some very good points about what they believe. That's the point of conspiracy theories, is you are trying to get people to believe something that you think is true, and they obviously do not think it's true. And there's something to it. People are drawn to these theories, whether it's a personality trait, whether it's just people that are just really have to know the truth, even though there are things that we are never going to see. I mean, I think about Jesus, for instance. None of us that are living today has ever seen him, but yet he is still the most talked about person in the world. The Bible is the most sold and sought after book in the world. And people have been trying to debunk that for years, saying that Jesus isn't real. I mean, think about some of the stories that are in the Bible. Jonah and the whale. I mean, Jonah didn't want to go to Nineveh. God said, you're going to Nineveh. Jonah could have actually got in a boat and just drove to Nineveh. But because he was disobedient and hard-headed and stubborn, he was in his boat. God shipwrecked it, got swallowed up by a big fish, and he went to Nineveh, and the fish spit him out. That's hard to believe, is it not? Moses parting the Red Sea. We weren't there, but there were people there that saw it. There were people there that witnessed it, and they wrote about it, and it's in the book of the Bible. So why are these conspiracy theories out there? Why are so many people wrapped up in a flat earth? Why are so many people wrapped up whether we went to the moon or not? Why all of a sudden are these things becoming a problem in our society? Well, I really do have some theories for you. I think we live in a generation today where knowledge is everywhere. You can gain knowledge from the internet. Not that it's all true, but there is more information now to our availability than there ever has been in our history. And we have a generation of people from, I don't know. I mean, the generations, the younger generation, Gen X, Gen Z, the millennials, it started kind of with them, where they have begun questioning everything. And I mean, for good reason, right? I mean, we're lied to all the time by the government. We're lied to all the time by the media and social media and people getting on Facebook, putting on their fake lives to make it look like what their lives are really like, when behind the scenes, they're a complete disaster and a mess. I mean, just think about a family picture. It doesn't mean that the family's a mess, but, you know, if you got the real footage of what it looked like for a family getting that, I mean, kids crying, not paying attention, people yelling at each other, get in line, smile, quit looking this way. And then all of a sudden they snap the perfect picture. That's what gets put on Facebook. And that's really what this boils down to. So I guess the question is, did we really land on the moon? That's the first thing that we're going to talk about. And I'm going to tell you before we go to the break here in just a second, I do believe we landed on the moon in 1969. I wasn't there. I didn't see it, but I believe it. When we come back, we'll talk about the top things of why they're conspiracy theories, and we'll go from there. We'll see you back here in just a minute. Okay, we're back from the break, and we are going to dive right in. We are going to land right on this topic, no pun intended. But what is it about the moon landing that everybody is talking about? What are the things? What are the main things of why this is such a conspiracy? I really wanted to talk about flat Earth first, but I'm going to just go ahead. I've already said I'm going to talk about the moon. We're going to talk about the moon. We're going to talk about the theories of how they believe. So, for instance, the first theory that I found was the shadows in the moon landing photos are proof that these images are fake. So when you look at one of the famous pictures taken by Neil Armstrong during the Apollo 11 moon landing, there are shadows of it looks like the space or the whatever thing they landed on there. I don't even know what that is. The space station or the space unit, the rocket, whatever you call it. I don't really care, but whatever that thing is, you can see the antenna, and then you see him in his astronaut his astronaut suit, and there's a shadow there. And a lot of people believe that because of the way the shadows are, because there's supposedly no sun up there, that these images are fake. They literally believe that if the sun were the only light source, then the shadows should be parallel. But it doesn't really prove that the whole scene was mocked up in a studio. That's what a lot of people believe. This is on the surface of the moon, but we can reproduce this effect anytime we want to on Earth. So this person explains that all you got to do is go outside when the sun is low in the sky, and you can see the same effect for yourself, just like the images from Apollo 11. The shadows will not be parallel. So because of that, supposedly that theory is bunk. Now, remember, I could care less about some of these theories. I just thought we would talk about it. Here's the other one, that Apollo astronauts could not have survived the Earth's radiation field. They think that, that they would have been burned up by the radiation by the time they got through it. And this person explains, well, you have to actually look at it like you're fire walking, which means, have you ever walked through a fire, like a bonfire, you stepped on it, you jumped over it, whatever? They're basically saying that if you linger around the fire and stand in the middle of it, sure, you're going to get hurt, you're going to get burned. But as long as you walk through it quickly, then there's no danger to you getting burnt. There's nothing that can really happen to you. And that's the way they described this particular theory, is because they went straight through it and didn't hang around, that the radiation belt did not obviously destroy them, and because it was a short moment that they went through it. Here's conspiracy number 3. Why are there no stars in the picture of the NASA moon landing? So again, there's a picture of one of the guys. I don't think it really, it says Buzz Aldrin, who is the other guy with Neil Armstrong. It shows Buzz Aldrin carrying experiment equipment during the Apollo 11 landing. And you can see in both hands, he's walking through, you can see the moon, but in the background, it's just pitch black. And so a lot of people say this is why, again, this picture is fake, because there's no stars in the background. Well, again, this person says, nope, that's not true, because what it takes is when you take these photographs, let me find where it is. Both of the astronauts at the lunar escape itself are brightly lit by the sun. The sky may look black, but remember, this in fact is daytime on the moon. So in other words, they're saying if you go and take a picture in a brightly lit scene, your camera's shutter speed needs to be fast and your aperture incredibly small. So in that situation, what happens is, because you're getting the person that is closer up than your background, then the faint objects like the stars simply aren't going to show up in the picture. I don't know. I'm just telling you what this person is saying to debunk the conspiracy of someone saying, well, there's not stars in the background. Here's the other one. Number 4, the Apollo 11 U.S. flag, this is the big one, was waving in the wind, but there was no wind on the moon. So again, I mean, this is one of the crowning moments, right, of the stars and stripes on the surface of the moon. And this person's saying, listen, they knew that if they did it, they actually have I don't know what you call it. I'm going to call it a dowel rod, a stick, whatever it is, at the top of the flag extending out. When I'm looking at the picture right now online, I can actually see it. Now, is this picture real? You know what? We can all argue about it. I'm just saying, to me, what I'm seeing in this picture is they actually have, the flag is not necessarily waving. To me, it looks like it's just been wadded up or traveled in for a long time, and they put this thing out there, and they made it look like it was waving. But they said they did it not because of that, but that way you could actually see. It says there's a telescopic, yeah, I guess it is telescopic pole, has been extended along the top in order to make the flag fly proudly. That's what it says. And, again, people are like, well, it's waving in the wind, et cetera, et cetera. This person says all the wrinkles are there because it was literally, been screwed up for 4 days en route to the moon. Well, you and I would both say, why was it wrinkled up? Why wasn't it folded properly? I think we all can, because that's another thing that I do say and think about. But again, hey, what do we really know, right? Here's the last one. If we really went to the moon, this is probably the biggest one. If we really went to the moon in 1969, then why have we not ever been back? That is a good question, because the technology today is so more advanced than it was in 1969. I can fully understand this. But like for me, a guy like me that just thinks, I don't know, I'm just a logical, realistic type of person. Not that you're not, but that's just the way my brain works. For me, I'm saying, why do we even need to go to the moon? Why do we even need to go to Mars? What's the point of going to Mars? What's the point of going to the moon? Just to explore and spend billions of dollars to do this? To me, my personal opinion, I just feel like it's a waste of money and a waste of time. However, we know the reason why they went to the moon in 1969 is because there was a race to get to the moon. Who was going to be the first country to get to the moon? Because Russia was right in line to get there. But guess what? The U.S. made it before them, supposedly, right? And after the fact, what happened was there were different events that took place after they returned from the moon. There were a lot of events that started taking place in our own country that they just kind of shifted their attention from going to the moon. They already went there. They figured there's really nothing else that we need to learn from it. It was, millions of miles away. There was a lot of high risk to go back, and they just felt like there was really no point in going. And guess what? I would agree with that. I mean, the thing with this is there are still people living today that went to the moon. Here's my biggest thing. And I'm going to end with this because I only got a minute, so I'm not going to take long. 2 of the 12 men that walked on the moon later were born-again Christians, Charlie Duke and the late Jim Irwin. Both of these men were dedicated believers. They wrote books in which they shared their testimonies and their experiences as astronauts. To doubt the Apollo moon landings amounts to accusing these 2 Christian men of lying about the biggest thing that ever happened to them. Of course, a part of their salvation. The biblical standard for establishing such a matter is 2 or 3 witnesses, and we can see that in many different translations. But these 2 Christian astronauts certainly suffice to me as reliable witnesses, so we can be assured, in my opinion, that the Apollo astronauts indeed walked on the moon. I believe if they're true blue Christians, especially back in that day, they weren't going to lie along with everybody else. Why would they on something very big like this? Listen, we got to take another break. We'll be back in just a moment. Okay, we're back from the break, and it's kind of ironic, actually, because somebody is like, wait a minute, you're going to tell me we're talking about the moon landing, and I gave you the 5 conspiracy theories about the moon landing, the 5 different things. I gave you the 5 reasons why they say these aren't true. But for me, one of the biggest things is that I believe it's 4 of these people are still alive that went to the moon. They're still alive today. Usually, conspiracies like this don't happen until the last person that was there at the event that did it dies. Then the conspiracies start to come out. But they've already come out. People are already not believing the government. They're not believing NASA. They're not believing all this. But yet 4 of these people that said they went are still alive, and 2 of them are devout Christians. Church. I thought I was preaching to my congregation. Listen, I just have a hard time believing that 2 of these guys that are born again Christians that are devout the way they say they are would lie about something this big just for the money or the accolades of landing on the moon. You can be skeptical all you want, and you can say all you want. Yeah, well, Christians lie all the time. You're right. We do lie. All of us lie at some point. We are sinful people. There's no doubt. None of us are good. But when you really are living for the Lord, and you're a true blue Christian, doesn't mean you're perfect, doesn't mean you won't make mistakes. But let me tell you something. As myself, as I know, I'm not walking around lying about big things just to gain attention. Why? Because you reap what you sow. And I'm just telling you, I just don't believe these 2 people are going to lie about going to the moon. Now, that's my opinion. You make it for what you want. I'm just telling you, yes, we did land on the moon. And no, we don't need to go back and waste a bunch of money to go back on the moon because it is nonsense to go back there. It's not doing anything for us to go back. All right, let's talk about flat Earth for a minute. This is another one that just drives me crazy, that there are people that literally believe the Earth is flat. And I know several big-time radio personalities, podcast people, that they don't believe the Earth is flat, and there are some that do believe the Earth is flat. I think a lot of people, the statistics are actually pretty crazy, to be honest with you. There are a lot of Christians that believe the Earth is flat. Not a majority, but a lot of them. So the data I'm showing right here is that only 66% of those people between the ages of 18 and 24 believe that the Earth is round. That's still the majority, obviously. The poll actually says that 84% of Americans are willing to fully acknowledge the shape of the planet is round. 84%. It's not very many people that believe that the Earth is flat, but yet they seem to be getting all of the attention. Well, the reason why they get all the attention is because, to me, it's crazy. I just think it's crazy. I don't know how in the world you can believe that the world is flat. I see all your theories. I'm looking at them. But again, I'm just a realistic kind of person. And I just cannot see the Earth being flat. But let me show you something here. Well, or maybe you can't see it, but I can at least tell you. Most of the skeptics claims that the Bible depicts a flat Earth. And again, this is normal for people that don't know a lot about the Bible, or maybe they're not a believer. Again, if you're not a believer, you're not going to understand the Bible, and you will take the Bible out of context for it to say what you want it to say to fit your narrative. You have to read the Bible in context. You have to understand fully who they're talking to, when they were talking to, what time of era was it, and all that good stuff you have to figure. And a lot of times you have to read the Bible for what it is and stop taking things out of context to make it what you want it to be. So they use scriptural references as Revelation 7:1 speaks about 4 angels standing at the 4 corners of the earth. They also point to Psalm 55 or 75:3, which says God holds the pillars of the earth firm. Other passages are in Deuteronomy, Job, Psalm, Proverbs, all of which they reference the ends of the earth, and that's where they get it. I mean, a lot of people just try to find something in the Bible that want us to be divided and make it what it is. Here's the truth. The truth is the Bible never really comments on the shape of the earth. It never comes out and says anything directly to it. It doesn't say that the earth is flat, and it doesn't say that it's round anywhere. But if we look at some of the commonly cited passages, we will realize that it doesn't mean what it's saying. For instance, in Revelation 7:1, it says, I saw 4 angels standing at the 4 corners of the earth, holding back 4 winds of the earth. The Apostle John was using this type of language, the quote-unquote 4 corners of the earth, to refer as every distant location. That's what it just meant. In every location as far as you can see. That's what the term means. For instance, when you use an idiom today, for example, when you say things like, let's go back to the drawing board, you're not literally going back to the drawing board. It's just a phrase that we use to go back to the beginning and start over. It has a different meaning than the literal meaning. And I believe that's what's happening when it comes to these things. So, like, for instance, another example, like coming from the distant area, 4 corners of the earth, referring to every distant location. To me, what that means is like if you took the Olympic Games, it means that everybody's coming from all over the world. From the 4 corners, they're coming from everywhere. That's what it means to me. And literally, the book of Revelation is full of these non-literal descriptions of things that are symbolic in the language that we speak. They're it's just crazy to me how people can simply just take these things out of such context to fit the narrative for why. Why is it that we want the earth flat? Why is it that you are so bound to believe the earth is flat? When all of us, every one of us has been taught from the day we were born up until now, up until the younger generation started questioning everything, why now is all of a sudden we just want to look at everything we've ever been told and look at it as a lie? It's crazy to me. We got Psalm 75:3. God says, when the earth and all its people quake, it is I who hold its pillars firm. Other passages also refer to the earth's pillars. You got 1 Samuel does it, the book of Psalm. You got 1 Samuel 2, another one. I mean, all these things, a lot of these things that we're reading are metaphorical. They're not literal things. So, I don't know. That's just the way I view it. I don't view that the earth is flat. Again, it's idiomatic. Whenever the phrase, like the 4 corners of the earth, that is an idiomatic phrase statement. And so we let people take it literal when it's not supposed to be that way. There's different ways you can go about that. So let me see. I got another one here. It says right here in Psalm 67:7, it says that may God bless us still so that all the ends of the earth will fear him. And in this verse, the ends of the earth references the people who inhabit remote and distant places. That seems pretty obvious to me. In the context, though, the phrase is metaphorical and cannot be used to depict the earth as having a physical edge. This is the same phrase is used elsewhere. It's just figurative. That's the problem. We take these things, and here's the thing. I have a hard time with Christians believing that we have a flat earth. I would love for somebody, and I know somebody, but they've never given me anything scripturally that supports their belief. And for me, that's where I get the majority of my knowledge. What does the Bible say about these things? Now, again, the Bible doesn't say anything about going to the moon. So we can't use, that other than we did have Christians that were on that Apollo 11 that actually went to the moon, and one of them is actually still alive. So that's a pretty good stance for me, because that's kind of how I base everything off of, is who is the person that's saying it? What is their character like? That matters. And then two, when you talk about flat earth, there are biblical things in there. It doesn't say yes, black and white, one or the other, but there are things in there that give me enough reason to believe that you flat earthers do not know what you're talking about, because you're taking these references and you're trying to give all these explanations. Anybody can twist and turn anything to believe what you want it to believe. And it actually sounds good, but that don't mean you're right. And a lot of you are probably saying, yeah, but you're not right. Well, that's the difference between you and I. I believe I am right about this, and you believe you're right, and that's why we have the difference. So anyway, bottom line is the Bible doesn't teach that the earth is flat, and neither does it teach explicitly that the earth is round. It doesn't do either. But Job 26:7 actually says he stretches out the north over the void and hangs the earth on nothing. So there's a scripture I can use to say, well, right there shows that the earth is actually like a ball hanging from nothing. There's nothing supported. It's not flat. So you flat earthers, you believe it's just a flat, we're out floating in the atmosphere. Does that mean you don't believe in any of the other planets that are round? You don't believe in the moon that's round or the sun? I mean, where do you draw the line in your belief? That's what I want to know. Isaiah 40:22 says, it is he who sits above the circle of the earth. That is to me, a little closer than what anybody else has proven to me. It is he who sits above the circle of the earth, and its inhabitants are like grasshoppers, who stretch out the heavens like a curtain and spreads them like a tent in to dwell. These are, again, they're not unscientific. It's not, it's not 100%, but to me, it does seem like we do have a round earth in a solar system, and there's simply no basis for the charge that the Bible teaches a flat earth. And that's just the way I see it. So I would love to know what any of you think right now about flat earth. I would love to know, just in the chat, can you tell me, do you believe that we went to the moon or not? And maybe tell me why. And do you believe the earth is round or flat? And tell me in the comments. I would love to know what you believe on these things. And then what I'm going to do here after the next commercial break, I'm going to go into what I feel like one of the biggest problems is of all of this nonsense. Why are we wasting our time talking about these things and not putting our time into things that matter most? That's what I want to do. Because listen, this stuff that's been talked about for a very, very long. You think this is the first time that people said that we did not make it to the moon? They started making those comments 3 years after they went to the moon. 3 years after they started making comments about, nope, we never went because we've never gone back and blah, 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 blah. And here we are. How many years later? What is that, 50 years later? We're still talking about it. And now all of a sudden, we're still talking about flat earth. It's just a reoccurring thing. Eventually, it'll kind of go away. And guess what? A generation will come up and boom, we're talking about it again. Well, that's where we're at. I'd love to hear from you in the chat. Tell me if you think I'm wrong. Tell me if you think I'm right. You're not going to hurt my feelings. I'm very, very confident in my belief system and what I believe in. And hopefully, I will be able to wrap all this up in a bow here in just a minute when we come back from the break. So listen, don't go anywhere. Don't get mad. Don't get too excited about this. It's okay if you believe what you believe. I'm just trying to give you some facts of my own here to just talk about this. That cool with everybody? All right. Well, guess what? We'll be back right in a minute from the break. You're listening to Unfiltered on the Real Talk Radio Network. Okie dokie. We are back from the break, and wow. Yeah, I think I got a lot of people, not a lot, but I've got several people a little upset with me right now about what I'm saying on this radio show, because they are in support of not going to the moon, and they are in support of a flat earth, and they are wanting to argue with me. Well, I'm not going to argue with anybody about this. Matter of fact, I don't even want to get into a conversation with anybody about this. I just thought today, I've never talked about this on the radio fully, and I just thought I would lay it out there. And you guys can come up with what you want, but I'm just going to tell you, I'm not wasting my time anymore on this subject with a person to decide and fight for whether we went to the moon or whether the earth is flat or not. Well, before we get into this segment, let me tell you the segment sponsor of Roots Cafe out here in St. Clair, Missouri, that yes, that is a part of our church. It is a business, a full-time business outside of the church, but yet attached to the church that has created an atmosphere for cafe items, drinks, you name it, we have it. I would love for you to come and check us out. We are open throughout the week, only closed on Monday. So Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, we are open from 6 a.m. to 8 p.m. So you can do breakfast, lunch, or dinner. Bring someone with you. And then, of course, on Saturday, we're open from 6 to 2. And then Sunday, we are also open to the public while we're having church. And I believe the hours are from 8 to 2 on Sunday, mainly for our patrons. But we do have people come in outside of that and get stuff from the cafe, which is awesome. Here's the one thing I will tell you. Starting next week for the month of December, just in the month of December, right now, we are actually going to do a special on Tuesday. So next Tuesday, the 5th, the 12th, the 19th, and the 26th, because we will be open on the 26th, the day after Christmas. We are doing a special on those Tuesdays at 50% off everything in the cafe. We do that because we want you to come in and try it, and we're doing that because we just want to give back to the community and say, hey, we want you in here. We're giving 50% off, so come take advantage next Tuesday or for any Tuesday in the following for the month of December. And then also we are going to have some live music that's going to take place a couple weekends, and I believe I need confirmation, but I believe we're going to try to have a moment with Santa Claus as well. And I'll confirm that next week or on my social media once we do. But this is sponsored by Roots Cafe. The segment is still wrapping up the conspiracy theories. Here's what I believe. I believe the biggest issue in today's society with conspiracy theories is the fact that we have so much information at our fingertips, not to mention the technology to make things fake. I mean, look at AI right now. This is a big, big deal, AI. It can be a very good thing, but it also can be a very bad thing. The internet can be a very good thing, but it can also be a very bad thing. The technology we have, the way we can take pictures, the way we can stage things, the way we can edit and crop and post and paste, it can be a great thing, but it can also be a bad thing. Not to mention that, that we have been lied to by the government every time we turn around. Facebook, social media, the news, everything, the people we listen to, we have been lied to so much that it's getting harder and harder to believe them. Scientists have lied. The CDC has lied. I mean, you name it, doctors have lied. I'll tell you right now, you know what drives all that? Most of that is money. Money, money, money. Fame, which leads to one thing, power. Power is the key. And in this case, I think we also live, honestly, in a fallen world where people lie and deceive us for personal gain or even jealousy for that matter. And James, I've been on this book of James for the last, it'll be 8 weeks. We just wrapped it up this past week. And I love this scripture in James 3:16. James 3:16, not John, but James 3:16 tells us, "For wherever there is jealousy and selfish ambition, there you will find disorder and every evil of every kind." I mean, think about that. Everywhere where somebody is jealous of what somebody has, what somebody said, what somebody does, who got the idea first, that was my idea, not your idea. When you get all that and you get this selfish ambition of being the first one to do it or whatever your motives are, the Bible clearly says that when you have that you will find disorder. Well, don't you think going to the moon or not going to the moon creates disorder? Don't you think having a flat earth or a round earth creates disorder? Don't you think whether 9/11 really happened or was it staged, does that not create disorder? Do you not think that the Sandy Hook debacle, it creates disorder? All of these things have the tendency to create a bunch of disorder. And where you have that, you have every kind of evil. So don't think for 1 second that the devil doesn't know what his job is. His job is to get us to fight against one another, and for something that is insignificant as the things that we're talking to me, it's insignificant whether we went to the moon or not. Why is it significant to you? Because they lied? That's the significance? Well, if that's the case, then we should be questioning everything else that's been going on in our country. Because people lie. There's a lot of things that are, just made up to look like something. I mean, we could look at all the things military that's taken place. Look at Watergate. Look at all the different things that have happened in our country, politically and socially in our country, that people have lied about to get us to believe certain things. Why are these the only two things that we're so wrapped up into? I mean, who cares if we went to the moon or not? Who cares if the earth is flat or round? But there are so many of the younger generation, and what they want is they want proof of everything. Why? Because they're always lied to. I mean, we talked about Santa Claus last week. I mean, we're going to lie about Santa Claus. If we're going to lie about a big fat man getting in a red suit and coming down your chimney and leaving presents, why wouldn't we lie about something more significant like these other things? That's why people have a hard time believing it. And listen, I believe that all these conspiracy theories are all brought up just to divide us and to provide mistrust in science, in government, and as a matter of fact, in any circumstance that comes up. That's what I believe. I believe this stuff is created to divide us, to bring strife and dissension amongst the people. So we're not unified. That's what I believe. And my advice is this. My advice, if you want it, you're not asking for it, but I'm giving it to you because you're on my radio show. My advice is don't get caught up so much that your doubt leads you to a place of sin. Doubt is healthy when you allow it to educate you, when you allow it for yourself to gain wisdom and for you to have understanding. Doubt is a good thing. Doubt is actually a part of my salvation. It's a part of what I believe, because that little bit of doubt gets me to research and pray and look for the answers one way or the other. But if you don't do it in a healthy way, then doubt will drag you down the road to begin to not believe anything. And you will just be a conspiracy theorist your whole life, always wondering. And man, I know people like this. Anything that gets said from any platform, there's something else going on. They're distracting us over here because this goes on over here. And some of that may be true. I'm not saying it's not true. But when everything that is brought up in the world and all you ever do is think they're lying and you think this is happening, use common sense. Just step back from the situation for a little bit and don't allow your brain to get so caught up into the nonsense, and just use common sense. The Bible tells us to use wisdom and discernment, and you get both of these from having the Holy Spirit living inside of you. You get it from praying and seeking the Lord daily. And wisdom is applying the knowledge. Why? Because we live in a world where we want the answers to everything. And when most times, I believe we just use critical thinking instead of critical theory, we'd be a lot better off. If we would just use common sense instead of feelings. I mean, every decision today is based off of someone's feelings instead of the common sense that comes along with it. If we would just have an open mind about things and just take it for what it is and do a little research on it and allow your discernment and, your knowledge to bring about your decision instead of having a bunch of doubt, guess what? I think things will look a lot different in your life. Let me leave you with this. Does the earth being flat change anything in your life? Does it directly affect you, your job, your religion, your stance on morals? Does the moon directly affect your life? Do any things affect you? I would probably say none of these directly affect you or me. So listen, keep Jesus as the main thing and don't let things become a distraction of the real reason for the season. Got it? Good. Listen, come back next week. Join me in talking about social, political, and biblical topics in an unfiltered way. Listen, everybody, have a great day. God bless, and let me see you chat on the app. Have a great day.